Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to share with you one section of the IEP that literally saved my career, my first year of teaching. It also helped build my 30-year career of helping parents and teachers build IEPs that work in the real world. For those of you that don't know, I'm Catherine Call. I'm founder of the Master IEP Coach mentorship, where you can learn to become a Master IEP Coach. Today, I'm going to share with you this section that I am just amazed how many times it is left completely blank inside of the IEP. So for those of you that don't know, I'm a special needs sibling. So my brother has Down syndrome. So I grew up in a house where I watched my mom advocate for my brother. I was the nosy sister who was around the corner listening to all of the struggles, all of the things that my mom had to go through to make sure my brother had the education that he needed for his needs, for his future, for our family. And she was that mom. Do you know what I mean when I say that mom, right? Like a lot of people understand, right? You know what I mean when I say that mom. And that's actually one of the reasons that I became a special education teacher, is because my mom had to be very, let's just say, assertive in making sure that my brother got what he needed. She often did not feel like she was heard. So I became a special education teacher. I had these big dreams of changing special education from the inside of my classroom. And I went all in. I got a bachelor's degree, I got a master's degree. I go into my first classroom, and my classroom is empty, basically. It has a teacher desk, it has some student desks, it has some bulletin boards, nothing to put on the bulletin boards, of course, right? And it's got this stack of IEPs on the desk. Yes, before everything was digital. Okay. So there's this stack of IEPs on the desk. And it was kind of like a pat on the back of good luck, new teacher. Here's your classroom roster. Here are the IEPs. Figure it out. And as I started to look through the IEPs, I realized that I couldn't get a really good picture of what was supposed to be happening in my classroom. And for all of you that are teachers, you know exactly what I'm talking about when you're a special education teacher and you're handed these IEPs and you're like, okay, you're looking for well, what else? What else are you going to give me? What else are you going to tell me? And there's not a whole lot more direction other than here are the IEPs. So as I'm going through the IEPs, I'm prepping my classroom, I'm trying to figure things out. I go, you know what? I'm going to figure this out. And I want to make sure that none of the moms of my students feel like they have to turn into that mom. That was a big concern of mine, is I want to make sure that I was serving the children well in my classroom and serving their families and making sure the parents felt heard. So I go into the IEP, I start to look at all of the notes from the IEP meetings, and I go into the section that's called Parent Educational Concerns. Now, majority of those sections were blank, or they had information like parent has no concerns at this time. I thought, are you kidding me? What do you mean parent has no concerns at this time? I grew up with a parent who always had concerns. And of course, we were friends with a lot of other families in the disability community, and they had concerns too. What do you mean parent has no concerns? Or the other option was there were things written in that section that didn't have a whole lot to do with what could be happening during the school day. It was random complaints. Mom's worried if child is eating their peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day at school. That's what it looked like. Now we could say that, well, of course, maybe that's a concern and we need to look at, because there's other concerns for independent living when it comes. No. They were really just random. Okay. They were just random. So I started to call up the parents of my students, and I said, okay, I'm your child's teacher, and I'm looking at their IEP, and I would like to know what is most important to you. What are you most worried about? What keeps you up at night? Now, mind you, I'm 20, 21 years old, and I'm calling the parents, and I'm scared. But when I heard their voice on the other end, and they were like, what do you mean? What do you mean you want to know what our concerns are? You want to know, we've never had this before. Every one of the parents said that we've never had this before. And I said, well, yeah, I have your child's goals. I can see, what they're working on. I can, see some basics of what we're going to be doing during the school day. But what else? What else? And they just started pouring out concerns. And the concerns, I was able to integrate that into our classroom, into our curriculum, into our day. And I thought, well, we need to get this documented. We need to figure this out. So I was helping parents then craft their parent educational concerns prior to the IEP meeting. I did that my first year of teaching, making sure that, we had everything in writing of what the parent concerns were. The reason that section was left blank, the parents straight out told me, the reason it was left blank was because we got to the end of the IEP meeting, typically, most of the time, not me, like I was the new teacher, right? But I know this after doing this for 30 years. You get to the end of the IEP meeting, it's been exhausting emotionally. There's been so many things that have happened. And the last question is, hey, Miss Smith, you have any other concerns about your child's education? No, nothing else at this time, right? The overwhelm just hits. So that section gets left blank or no concerns at this time because it becomes an afterthought at the end of the meeting. So coming up with this process of working with the parents and making sure that we were integrating their concerns and then we were getting them documented and they were getting them into the next IEP meeting. When I started working with parents outside of my role of the classroom, which I actually started my first year of teaching also. Remember, I've been in the disability community my entire life. So people knew that I was a teacher, right? And they were, okay, can you help me or what's going on? Or I don't understand this, Catherine, now that you have your degree, can you help explain this? And then they started hiring me, not for in my own district, right? So, but surrounding areas. And I was helping them understand what's in the IEP, what can you ask for, what words should you use, how can you get this documented, and I help them craft parent educational concerns in order to get that into the IEP. As I started leading workshops, because eventually I got asked to come to the parent support group meetings and my name started to kind of get around town of she's going to help you really find the right words on how to communicate with your IEP team of what needs to happen for your child. So I started going to parent support groups. I started to bring a checklist, but it wasn't just any checklist, not just, standard IEP things. It started off with, let's look at your parent educational concerns section. Let's look at this section. And every time parents would bring their child's IEP, I'd ask that question, I'd open up with that, and they would look for it. And they're like, wait a minute, it's either blank, it says I have no concerns, or it's got random things that are not even really important. Like they just kind of got scribbled down on there. How do I make this better? Like I have real concerns about my child's education and my voice is not in here. I said, yes, let's go ahead. Let's get this documented. So I created a process for my clients, for the people that I was working with on how to really utilize this parent educational concerns. Because here's the thing, as a teacher, way back to that classroom, that first classroom and the next year that I was in the classroom, right? I don't have a crystal ball where I know exactly what is important for the families of the students that I'm working with. There are so many things. If a child has a reading deficit or a deficit in math, or they need to work on communication skills, or they're struggling with self-regulation. There's so many things that could be happening, right? And I can approach it in so many different ways. But if I'm going to do what the law says, which is provide a free and appropriate public education that meets a child's unique needs and prepares them for further education, employment, and independent living, then I need to do something to make this unique. I need to do something to prepare the child for the future. And the future is with their family. So I need to include the family, and I need to make this section of the IEP so tailored, so descriptive, so in depth in each of the domains that the parent is concerned with. So then when we can take the IEP goals and we can take this parent educational concerns and we can put those together and develop a day for a child that is so meaningful, that's going to carry over for years and years and years to come. So I'm going to encourage you, just as if we were in a workshop right now, if you are a parent or if you're a teacher, right? I want you to gather up some of your students' IEPs. I want you to go open up the IEP, right? Scroll through and look for that parent educational concerns. What does it say? Is it reflective? Is it helping to create a unique education experience? Is it helping the teacher figure out what what else could be happening during the school day to make sure that a child's unique needs are being met. Teachers, do not let go of this section of this is just a place for a parent to share what their concerns are. It can be so much more. It can be a driver. It can actually help you with your school day. It can help you figure out how you can bring together the IEP goals in a way that creates a meaningful future for the child. So I want to encourage you. If you have learned something today, if you're like, yes, I need to go look at this section, I need to figure out how do I get all of these concerns in there? How do I make it a driver of my child's education? This section of the IEP, how do I make that happen? I want to encourage you to come into the next mentorship that is happening. I'm going to have the link below where you can become a Master IEP coach. Many people become a Master IEP coach so they can just get all the things that I've put together over the last 30 years. Yes, I give everything to you and you just want to use it for yourself at the IEP table. But others come into the mentorship to get all of the things because you also want to learn how to help others. You might have listened to this and been like, yes, I know this section is important and more parents need to know about it. Maybe you're the answer. Maybe you're the answer that the parents are looking for. And you want to learn how to turn your IEP experience into income by going through important sections like this in the IEP that are forgotten and helping parents and schools work together. Again, come on in to the mentorship. Learn to become a Master IEP coach. Learn not only for yourself, but learn how to set up your own business, helping parents and schools work together, turning your IEP experience into income by bringing forth these collaborative efforts that really do change the future of a child and for the family. And it is such a blessing for the school team to be able to have the entire picture documented inside of that IEP. It really does help create that unique experience for the child so they can have that appropriate education, so they can be prepared for the future. I'm going to leave the links for the next mentorship below. I hope to see you there. And don't forget, go check that section. Parent educational concerns. Is it being used? Is it being used effectively? Does it have all the different domains that are of concern for you as a parent or teachers, for the families of the students that you're serving? That section can be a huge benefit for everyone.